Hello and welcome back. Hey, for the record, the date is the 7th of December, 2021. And this video is directed to all of you guys that told me that you've been in and out of court a year, 2 years, 24 years, 10 years. You got to understand you're not going to win in court. The courts are rigged. And let me explain. In America, it's all about money. It's been strategically planned by the rich how to get money or how to get taxes using and abusing the 90% of us, right? And so in order to understand this, you got to go back in history. And I told you this, right? And as a strategic planner, and I'm going to use my 20 plus years of military strategic operation training to help you understand. So whenever there's a problem, you always look at patterns, especially if it's a systemic problem, right? And so the military knows this. I've been trained by the best, and they know it. So in order to understand what's going on, there's a methodology how you come up with a solution. You look at patterns because patterns don't lie. And you get your patterns from inspections, law, rules, regulations, policy, past precedents, experts, subject matter experts. Also, higher Supreme Court decisions, law, because nothing in the lower courts trumps higher courts, right? And then you ask whistleblowers and insiders, and then you do if you can, we call it a command inspection, or you check the climate and you figure out from the insiders. You go boots on the ground to try to figure out what's going on. And once you have all that information, you get the facts and you lay everything out and you try to figure out strategically what the hell's going on. Why? Because you will soon find out you're dealing with criminals, and you got to understand how they think. They are the best when it comes to deception, liars. They will do anything and everything. And the way they think is they can play this game because it's a game, it's a business game, but they can get caught because winner takes all. And what they use against you Americans, because these guys are traitors, what they use against you Americans is your ignorance, your ability to be so naive to give in and to consent. Because if they can get you to consent with the devil, with them, because they're all devil worshipers, they're all liars, and they do the opposite. Let me give you an example. I'm dealing with Amy Berman Jackson. Everybody knows Amy Berman Jackson. Amy Berman Jackson is famous for saying what? The truth still matters, right? But I can tell you, I can show you where she's lied. So you have to do the opposite of whatever they say, all right? And you got to understand your rights, your rules. And I'm going to always tell you and beat this in your head because I want you to understand what they're doing to you, because I really care. And for everybody that thinks, oh, well, I'll pay you. No, you don't pay me anything, because what I'm telling you, you should have already known about it. It's 2021, and you got all these leaders running around cheating the public, 90% of us. And once you learn it, you teach your kids. That's what you can do if you want to pay me. If you want to pay me back, teach your kids. Money is good, but you can't take it to the grave with you. Our goal, our mission in life should be to make the world a better place. And we can't get it together until we all come together and understand what these guys are doing to us. So, having said that, let's go back to history, because in order for you to understand why you're being tricked in the courtrooms and why they're so corrupt, you got to understand who our founding fathers really were. They were crooks. Yeah, they were crooks. And let me explain. If you do your history, you will find that they all knew about the Charter of the Forest. The Charter of the Forest is very important, because if you go back in history, you will see that those European founding fathers, they ran away from the king, they say. However, in 1215, they were so pissed off because the king, King John, thought he was above the law. He wanted everything. He wanted everybody's land. He went out there and he started fighting and winning land. He wanted control. And it got to the point that the wars were costing him too much. So he was taxing everything and everybody. He even got so bad where he taxed his barons, his knights. And also what he was doing to his knights, because he thought he was divine, he would sleep with their, you gotta do your history, their wives, their daughters. They would take everything. He would do everything. He was just off the chain. And they got upset. So what the knights did, they said, I'm not fighting anymore. You know what? We're not going to fight. We're not going to represent you until you sign the Magna Carta. Now keep in mind, all the king wanted was land control. He wanted to tax you, yeah, that it got so bad that he even taxed everybody that came on the forest. He said, oh, this is royal forest, this is royal land. Oh, that's my royal deer. And if you shoot my royal deer, you know what he did? He mutilated people. People needed to eat. 90% of the other humans, besides the barons and besides the king, they needed to eat. They needed to raise their family. And so everything that they had, all the resources, came from the forest. And that's why you came up with the Charter of the Forest, which is amendment to the Magna Carta. And they knew about the Charter of the Forest. And let me explain. The Magna Carta was for the rich, and it gave them the right for life, liberty, and property. All right? The Charter of the Forest was for us, 90% of us. It gave us rights for life, liberty, and property. Now you follow me, because I'm going to tie this back into what's happening today. All right? So, the Charter of the Forest is so important that everybody should know about it, but nobody knows about it but the rich. Our founding fathers knew about it. It also said, the Charter of the Forest said, there's only one law, and that's God's natural law. And nobody's high, mighty, and divine, higher than God. Nobody. Right? It also said, if you stole somebody's property, then you're going to get in trouble. Right? It also said, nobody can mutilate you or make you into a slave or mistreat you because you have a God-given right to live on God's green earth and eat, sleep, provide for your family, live, develop your God-given talent, your creativity, your gifts. Our founding fathers knew that, and our founding fathers found a land that wasn't lost. Not only that, they knew if they violated the Magna Carta or the Charter of the Forest, that they violated, they were going to pay. That's why the way that they think is they can play this game, but they can't get caught. Why? Because the winner takes all. Now you hold that thought, because I've been preaching for the last year that you can never, ever, ever throw out a 1983 KKK case with merit. And why do you think I've been preaching that? Because that 1983 KKK case with merit is a reflection of the Charter of the Forest. It says, if you're going to do me wrong and you stole more than $20, I'm going to take you to trial and you're going to pay me what you owe me. Why? Because they agreed in 17 that everybody has a right to trial. Everybody has a right to get back what you stole from me, especially if you're stealing my property. Now follow me. Your property, what is your property? Your rights are your property. That's why it's so important to know your rights, because they can never take your rights away from you. That's a God-given gift. That's why you have to know. Remember those 25 things I said you got to know? If they come back and say, oh, we're going to take away your weapons, you can't do it. Can't do it. Right? Oh, we're going to take away your right to have a trial. You can't do it. Amy Berman Jackson can't do it. You all know this. But if you allow them to take away your rights because of your ignorance, they'll do it, because the way they think is, if you don't know your rights, we're going to hammer you. And if we can hammer you, play you, then guess what? We're going to keep on doing it until you give me a quo warranto, or you figure out our game. And their game is they can play, but they can get caught. And guess what, guys? I have shown you, and I've told them straight up, all right, you want to play me? You either pay now or pay later, because I know your game. And guess what? I got the top generals on my side, and I'm taking them all to court with me because they're watching. That's why it's important to know 241, 242, 1983, which is also 1871. And I feel like I need to talk more about the 1871 KKK Act, right? But let me continue on what you need to know. You need to know about the 1985 and 1986. This is so important because your rights are your property. And everything that I just showed you gives you standing to sue them. So when they play you, and once you realize after 70 years that you've been done wrong, you can always go back and sue them in their individual capacity and their official capacity. All right? Because the statute of limitation never runs out. Why? Because of the Charter of the Forest. And the Magna Carta and the Charter of the Forest says what? It says if you are going to act like you're divine and abuse your authority, right? If you're going to act like God and take away my rights are my property, then you're going to pay me, right? So that's what the Charter of the Forest says. That's what 1983 says. And 1983 is similar to 1871. And I want to go back and talk about 1871 because 1871 is what happened after the Civil War. The Civil War was fought between the bankers. Really, even though you guys fought and you thought you fought for your rights, like we're doing today, it's for the bankers. They tried to figure out, well, all right, so when the war ends, how do we get slaves, God's gifts? And I'm not saying slaves are God's gifts. I'm saying everybody's God's gift because we're all one. Remember what my professor said? He's right. We're all one. Nobody's above anyone else. Nobody's designed to harm anyone else. We're here on this God's green earth to live, to multiply, to get along, not to hate. We were not supposed to hate each other, right? The rich play us against each other. And what's so sad, once you read the Charter of the Forest, read the Charter of the Forest, read the Magna Carta. It says every living, breathing person has a God-given right to have a chance at life, to feed their family, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The right to have property. Your rights are your property, and they knew it. But yet, they had slaves. So what does that tell you about our founding fathers that found something that wasn't lost? What does that tell you about our founding fathers that came to the United States that were told to kill the Indians, capture their children, teach their children their culture, their Bible that was manipulated, right? Because if you really think about it, and my husband brought this point up, he said, look, the Romans didn't like Jews. They would throw them to the lions. And then they realized in order to control the Jews, because one day the Jews said, you're trying to make us bow down and kiss Caesar's statue's feet? I don't think so. So what they did was they kicked the Romans' ass. You do your history. And then Nero said, oh, wow, how are we going to control these people? And then Titus and that other general, his father, said, oh, we know. We're just capture them, beat them, kill them, starve them, burn all their scriptures. Take the scripture, take Titus, and he's going to manipulate the Bible. So if you read the Bible, you'll understand that it's designed to oppress or keep you oppressed, and you don't even know it. If you go to the Bible History Museum, you'll find out. I dare you, I challenge you to go read a slave Bible. It's different. And they'll tell you why. Do your history, because it's out. And once you open Pandora's box, you can't go back in. So we know what's going on. All right, so having said that, let me get to the point. what this video is all about. When you ask me a question and tell me that you've been in court for 24 years, once again, it's all a game. And if you don't know how to play the game, you're going to lose. First of all, when you go to court, you got to understand, you're the boss. You're paying these people to do their job. That's number one. Number two, when you go there, trust no one. Put all your faith in God. The attorneys, judges, clerks aren't there for you. You're dealing with a mafia, and you know it, damn it. You know it. When you tell me you've been to court for 24 years, doesn't that tell you? God gave you discernment. Doesn't it tell you something's odd? And that's number one. Now, number two, know that you're the boss. You're paying them to do their job. They got a charter to do their job. And you got to remember, the court is always fair. The judge is not the court. Their goal is to convince you to give up your rights, to consent, and you will never consent because they're up to no good. So what you do before you go to court, you protect yourself under Title II and Title III of the ADA Act. Get Karen Huffner's book, because if you don't have a disability, you'll get one, because they are designed to mess with your mind and give you legal abuse syndrome, which is a crime. You can find that under the DSM-5, right? So you're dealing with criminals. When you're dealing with criminals, you're not going to win. Know that. Look up the Clearfield Act, because the Clearfield Act says that they're private organizations that collect ADA funds. I say that because what they do, because they're going to shock you, because they lie, cheat, steal, perjure themselves, get the sheriff's department, the police department. They also get pawns, like for example, in our case, they got a pawn, and they got the police department, the sheriff department, to give her a fake police report. They, in our case, it was the corrupt Justice Department in Building 810, the VA, and they call themselves the VA attorneys. They coordinate with the state court, the state judges, to give her a fake peace order. That fake peace order becomes a fake criminal charge. Know that. This is a game that they play. And I told them several times they got to change their strategic plan because it's not working anymore. And we're not the only ones. Just know that they have, like OSHA representative said, they got everybody involved. They got everybody. Everybody's involved in it, and you can't do anything about it because of Executive Order 12196, which allows them to do their own thing. You got to understand they got executive orders, presidential executive orders, to harm you. So you're playing a game, America, against a government that's a de facto because they've been dissolved. And you got a justice system that's gone rogue. And so when the Declaration says they've gone rogue, what do? If you don't know what to do, then shame on you. You dissolve them. Your power is a quo warranto. Let me repeat that. Your power, because you've always had the gift and you've always had the power, you just didn't know it, is a quo warranto. And they'll tell you, oh, you got to be Attorney General. The Attorney General's on their side. You say, I'm an Attorney General. I'm a private Attorney General, and I'm your boss. And I want a quo warranto because you know what right looks like. But what they've done is they've got you believing that, hey, they're in control. They're not in control, guys. They're not in control. You've always been in control. And if you don't have a hearing within 3 to 20 days, they're gone, as per pro confesso. You got to do your homework. Can't believe anything they say because they're expert at deception, right? Okay, so real quickly, so you know what to do. Get Karen Huffner's book, Unlocking Justice, because it will tell you all the secrets. It will tell you about Title II and Title III. Title II says if you're a protected group, right, then nobody gets immunity. Title III says any man-made rules, regulation can be changed so you can win. There's no way on God's green earth you should be going in and out of court for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 24 years. It's ridiculous. Know that when you file under 1983, because 1983, once again, is a duplicate of the Charter of the Forest, the Magna Carta, the 1871 KKK, the 1990 ADA Act, which means you're protected. If you're protected, then these people have to wake up. If they're not, they're playing you. Treason is about to happen. That's what Higher Supreme Court says. When you have a court, because the court's always fair, when you have a judge, the judge is not the court. When you have a judge violating your due process, not providing safeguards to protect you because they're never in the business of harming, treason is about to happen if they're not doing their job. So you have to stand up and say, I recuse you. And you got to put it on the record, and you got to tape record everything, because I'm telling you right now that I can prove that they erase recording because they don't want anything that's against them on the record. Got to remember, everything has to be on the record. That's why when you write them, if they don't want to give you electronic filing like they don't want to give us, because they know if it's on the record, it's on. So when they're playing you and violating your rights, you got to do a certified mail return receipt, because you can use that as free discovery, right? And so when you're going into kangaroo court, once again, you've got to tell whomever you're talking to, you got to set them up, and you got to get them under oath telling on themselves, because you can use that as free discovery. Because what they do is they take you in and out of kangaroo court until you consent, until you call uncle. Never, ever consent. You are always an American. You're not a corporation, because that's the game that they play. They think you're a corporation. You're a straw man. You mean absolutely nothing. Got to remember how they think. They don't think anything about you. It's all about money. So put your big girl panties on, your big boy panties on, and realize, don't you cry. You go toe to toe with them. Once you understand, and once they understand that, hey, if you're going to violate my rights because my rights are my property, you're going to prison, because that is a criminal. That's 18 U.S.C. Nothing. Know your 18 U.S.C. everything. No 18 U.S.C. 241, 242. 1983, 1985, and 1986. Bottom line up front, you've always had the power. And if you realize after 70 years, because statute of limitation never runs out, if you realize that they, the judge, violate your rights because your rights are your property, you can always sue them. And go ahead and sue them under their individual capacity and their official capacity. Take everything away from them. Yep. Put the fear of God in them, because they played us for so long. And know your rights and make it known. Put everything on the record. Don't be afraid, because they will try to intimidate you. And you make it perfectly clear, oh, no. You're the boss. You're in control. And you mean business. Right? And don't shed one tear. You'll be okay. So, read Karen Huffner's book. So until next time, remember, too many people fought long and hard for us to have constitutional rights. You're dealing with criminals. These are criminals. And I've proven it. I've got over 400 civil rights violations. And they're trying to call us or tell us, can you please just dismiss? No. We're not going to dismiss the case. We're taking y'all down. I got 110. Every time that somebody violates your constitutional rights, leave the court and add them as a defendant. Damn it. Because, 1986. If you know about this corruption, they're wrong if they're in a position to prevent it. So, until next time, this is Sue out.